Jerry Agar for Ezra Levant. Today's Supreme Court ruling seems to allow local judges the latitude to decide whether a person may wear a niqab over her face in court. Janet Epp Buckingham is an associate professor at Trinity Western University and the director of the Laurentian Leadership Center with expertise in religious freedom, human rights, church-state relations. Welcome.
Thank you, Jerry.
To my untrained, non-lawyer eye, and I've only seen a little bit of this, it seems to me that to a large degree the Supreme Court kind of said to local judges, back to you.
That's pretty much the case. They really did leave it up to the local judge, but they set out some very strict guidelines. And interestingly, the Chief Justice made it clear that the starting point is going to be that she should be able to wear, someone should be able to testify in court with a niqab on, unless there are good reasons why not.
Well, the case that came before the court has been wending its way up to the Supreme Court, comes out of Toronto. A woman who can be named only as NS, I think it is making allegations of sexual molestation when she was younger. She wants to wear the niqab, and my understanding is they have said, the judge here in Toronto said she could not, and that will stand.
No, it's going back to the preliminary inquiry judge. And that's the first stage in a criminal case. They have to decide if there's enough evidence for the case to go on to a trial. And it's going back to the preliminary inquiry judge with some guidelines as to how he has to make the decision. And I actually think that he probably will come down on the other side and let her wear her niqab in this case, given the guidelines from the Supreme Court.
I've only seen little portions of it, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but the female pronoun seemed to be fairly evident in this decision, and that seemed strange to me. I thought we made decisions essentially on people.
Well, it's very difficult, particularly because this is an issue of sexual assault. You know, the police and the justice system has been making a big push over the last few years to really try and get women to report issues of sexual abuse. And then when they do, if there are certain women that will not be able to testify in a way that they feel comfortable, they're a little bit concerned that that will deny them access to justice. They simply won't report these because they don't want to go to court and have to testify without their niqab on.
Is this, though, set up a situation where now we could see some sort of tsunami of people coming into court making all kinds of religious demands and using this as a precedent?
I don't really think so, because the court was very careful to try and balance the right to religious freedom with a very strong right for the accused to have a fair trial. Now, normally being able to for the claimant and the accused to face each other in court and see the demeanor is considered to be very important. But in this particular case, or kind of case, where a woman is saying, look, wearing a niqab is part of my religious beliefs, it's very important to me. They say that this is an issue of competing rights, and the court has to come down and balance these. But I don't think that we'll see a whole barrage of these. We've seen a lot of religious freedom cases in the last few years, and the courts are really trying to say, you know, where do we go? How do we make these decisions? How do we balance competing rights?
Well, I realize that the Supreme Court does not operate by just doing a public poll and then deciding what to do. But I can tell you that from my experience, and I spend my life talking to the public's not on the side of the court on this one.
Well, it's really challenging because we always have had certain people with religious practices that are unpopular in Canada. And I think back a few years ago to a case from the Hasidic Jewish community in Montreal that wanted to have sukkah huts on their balconies for 9 days during the year to observe Sukkot. And that was very unpopular with their neighbors. Their neighbors wanted them to stop doing this. We don't want you living in booths out on your balconies. It's ruining our property rights. And in that case also, the Supreme Court came down in favor of the religious adherents, saying, you know what, as a multicultural, multi-religious society, we have to try and get along with each other and give each other a little bit of space for our religious practices, even when they seem odd or unpopular to other people.
Last night, I heard a comment, and this was before the Supreme Court decision came down, from the lawyer for the woman in question here, and he was commenting, and I think the court did go this way, that there would have to be an established religious practice. You couldn't have decided yesterday before you came into court. I think he put it this way, that you've joined the religion of a paper bag over my head.
That's exactly true. And, you know, we have seen other women in Canada, and there really aren't very many who wear the niqab, but we have seen other women in Canada. It's actually, I think, a controversial practice even within the Muslim community,
right.
But it's sort of a well-known and well-established practice.
But you would have to show that you had been established with that practice before last Thursday when you found out you were coming to court.
That was exactly true. And one of the things that made the preliminary inquiry judge decide the way he did to say she had to take off her niqab is because her driver's license, she wasn't wearing a niqab. And so those kinds of things play into it.
Now, would a decision like this, now that you've mentioned that, then give some fuel to somebody who wants to move further and say, well, should be able to wear the niqab for the driver's license, for the passport, that sort of thing?
Well, I think that that's true. And one of the areas that I think they will be looking at is citizenship, because right now to take your oath of citizenship, women are not permitted to wear the niqab. It also might have an impact in Quebec, where Premier Marois has talked about not allowing any women public services if they're wearing the niqab.
I have heard from women who are furious about this because they think it is nothing more than a sign of the subjugation of women.
There are other religions that we know in Canada that have very patriarchal views, and I think it's always difficult when those who are not within the religion take that on. I appreciate the fact that there are moderate Muslim women that are taking on the issue, and I think they're the right place for that kind of issue to take place. We don't, for example, want the courts to be arguing that the Catholic Church has to have women priests, for example.
I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.